I'm happy after a draft? No, that can't be right. Let me see the script. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Pancast, a podcast where you don't, I do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. No, legitimately, I am so effing happy. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down all 4 of the night 2 picks by the Green Bay Packers, in which they addressed significant needs. They still got 8 picks to go for day 3, and yeah, I am loving where the Packers are right now. So last night, they go out and get offensive linemen, they get Morgan, and it's kind of a whelmed response. I put out a video, I wasn't super, thrilled about it, but thinking about it more, again, Goody, I said this last night, I trust him completely when it comes to offensive linemen because he has not let me down ever with that position. So for that, I'm willing to give a pass because, Tom Grossi should really be the GM. Just kidding. I live in a basement. I know a lot of football, but I'm not the GM. But at this point, the Packers go into night 2. They still have a bunch of positions to address, and they did all that and more. And listening to Goody's press conference, it seemed to be the theme of these picks was speed. They got it at linebacker, they got it at safety, and running back as well, because they needed the speed to compete with the kind of offenses they're going to be going against. I mean, specifically because the Bears decided to, we're going to draft well now. And the Packers, they got additional value. Goody talked about wanting to get additional picks. They walked into this draft with 11 picks, and now they're leaving with even more. They traded from 41 to 45 with the New Orleans Saints, and apparently this deal was done way ahead of time. So this wasn't because Cooper DeJean wound up going a pick before or anything like that, because there was a bunch of fans that were upset that Cooper DeJean went and then Kool-Aid McKinstry went because they were fan favorites. Me, I was kind of okay with it because I really wanted Graham Barton. We didn't get him. We got our offensive lineman, but the Packers picked 2 guys that I was a huge fan of, and that starts off with pick number 45, addressing linebacker with Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M, 6'2", 230 pounds. I predicted that he would go to the Packers in the 3-round mock draft that I did last week. And talk about speed at linebacker, he absolutely has it. But the thing that stands out about Cooper's tape is, good God, that man tackles. And he hits you with some emphasis. So the Packers needed to obviously address this position. I'm curious to see where they're going to play Cooper, but really, if we're talking about middle linebacker, they just had Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie. And the interesting thing was, during Goody's press conference, he basically said that he wanted their LBs to be interchangeable, meaning that they could play all over the field. So maybe they're going to play edge, or maybe they're going to be middle linebacker. And I think Cooper can definitely do that. And going off the fact that he was an amazing tackler, he had 89 tackles last season, 17 tackles for a loss, and 8 sacks. And considering they got one of the best middle linebackers in the draft, yeah, I'm super happy here. The Packers did not have to trade up. Instead, they got additional value from the Saints. And yeah, I couldn't be more happy with pick number 45. And oh boy, my excitement was even more insane for this next pick. Because at pick number 58, like I predicted in the 7-round mock draft, they got Javon Bullard, the safety from Georgia, 5'10", 198 pounds, only 21 years old, and going back on that theme of speed, ran a 4.47, had 5 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, and 56 tackles, super athletic, and pairing him with McKinney, I can actually have some peace in the secondary, because yes, the Packers do need to still address corner depending on what's going on with Eric Stokes, but considering they didn't go after a corner early on, I think they're assuming that Stokes is going to be okay, though don't be surprised if the first pick on day 3 is a corner for the Packers. But here, getting Bullard fulfills a great need. Pairing him with McKinney, I absolutely love. Super duper athletic, can play all over the field, has played nickel, can play slot. But again, as a safety, this has been a position where the Packers really haven't paid a lot of attention to. Last year, they kind of threw up their hands and said, let's see what happens here. Now they're actually investing not only through free agency, but through the draft as well. I love the Bullard pick here. And yeah, I am very, very very happy with our secondary, and I cannot wait to see how it translates on the field.
I'm a f***ing Packer!
Then at pick 88, they go running back with Marshawn Lloyd. 5'9", 220-pound running back from USC. Not a guy that I did a ton of research on. I looked at him a little bit when I was looking at guys like Ray Davis because the Packers obviously need to draft a running back, which they did because they had A.J. Dillon on a one-year deal. They just got Josh Jacobs. And then with Emmanuel Wilson, who the heck knows what they're doing here, but ran a 4.46 40-yard dash. Again, the theme of speed here. In 2020, had some ACL injuries. In 2023, had 7.1 yards per carry. Pretty damn good. 116 attempts for 820 yards and 9 touchdowns. Also 13 receptions for 232 yards. But besides him being a pretty decent blocking running back, one of the things that stood out to me is the fact that he is low mileage. Because the fact that he got 820 yards on only 116 carries is pretty damn good. So the average is super high, but the mileage is very, very low. Because the Packers, I wouldn't be surprised if they draft another running back later in this draft, talking about potentially a receiving running back. But here, having Lloyd here, low mileage, you have Josh Jacobs, which are kind of waiting and seeing how he's going to do. I think it's a great plan here. Lloyd seems like a very capable running back and can be shaped into whatever the Packers want to be. So Lloyd, very low risk here, 3rd round pick. Those usually don't work out for the Packers, but here, I'm a fan. And then finally at 91, they decided to address linebacker again with Tyron Hopper. 6'2", 231 pounds, was a finalist for the Buck Kiss Award. 55 tackles, 6 for a loss, 3 sacks, and 3 pass breakups. Talk about speed. They were talking about the press conference where he worried about it, but he said no, he ran a pretty damn good 40 for them. Had an ankle injury in 2023, but here as an off-the-ball linebacker, they get depth. You talked about potentially selecting a linebacker in round 1 since it was arguably the Packers' biggest need. They decided not to. They addressed both of it on night 2, and I love the value here because, again, they need bodies at that position. Goody was asked about, did you go best player available or did you kind of go for need? He said the temptation for need was there, and some guys actually within the draft room pushed back against him and said, let's just let the board fall the way it's going to fall. And it fell very, very well. So the Packers get 2 linebackers here on night 2. It was a position of great need considering what Jeff Hafley is going to run on this defense. And Hopper brings that speed that the Packers are looking for. And again, looking for interchangeable linebackers that can play all over the field. Here, that versatility, like what they look for in offensive line, it seems to be a theme throughout this draft. Hopper, I think, fulfills that. And yeah, I'm pretty damn happy.
Hopper. 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 Shut up!
So here, not only do the Packers get best player available according to their draft board, they said the majority of the picks that they got were basically within the first 2 rounds of where they were mocked on their own draft board. So they got the value, they got the speed, and they got positions of need. So I gotta say, I think this was a very successful night 2 for the Green Bay Packers. They still have a ton of picks for day 3. And yeah, Tommy, we happy. But let me know what you think down in the comments below about all these picks. You know, I send me at Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon members and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.